Hey everybody, it's Mr. Chris. Today we're starting with our first guitar lesson. All right? Now before we can really get started, your guitar needs to be in tune. So we're not going to do that in this video. I've already made a video for how to tune your guitar, so go check that out and learn a little bit about tuning your guitar, learn a little bit about tuning your guitar and get your guitar in tune, and then come back over to this video so we can get started. All right, now playing guitar is a lot of fun, and it's kind of you have to think of it as a marathon, okay? It's a long journey. There's no quick shortcut. There's no fast, easy way to get anywhere. Consistent practice on a regular basis is the best way to get where you want to be, okay? Practicing once a week, even if you practice for a long period of time, is never going to be as good as if you can practice a little bit every day or almost every day, even if it's for just 5 minutes. One thing I always suggest to my students is to leave their instrument in a place that they can get to very easily. If it's all packed away and stuck in a closet somewhere and it's really difficult to get to, then just getting the guitar out and getting it set up to practice is such a process that it's time consuming and frustrating, and you're going to be less likely to actually practice. But if your guitar is sitting out where you can reach it all the time, but in a safe place, but still where you can get to it pretty easily, where all you have to do is just pick it up and put it in your lap and get started, then you're a lot more likely to play more often. And like I said, even if you play just a little bit every day, it's that everyday kind of thing that really, really is going to help you grow as a guitar player. And another thing to think about is a lot of times people will start and it'll be very difficult, and very quickly they will come to the conclusion that I just don't have any talent, I'm not gifted, I don't have the ability, I wasn't born to do this. There are other people that are just born and it comes naturally. And that's not how it is, okay? It doesn't come naturally or easily to anybody, really. It takes a lot of work. And now you don't have to think of it as work. Hopefully it's fun. It's something that you want to do so you can enjoy the process. But it is a process and it takes time. So give yourself time. Give yourself a few months before you even stop and go, do I want to keep doing this or not? Because it's going to take you a while. Now, if you go for 3 months and you only practice for about 10 minutes once a week, then you don't really have any idea whether you could be good at this or not. All right? What I'm saying is play every day or as close to it as you possibly can, and do that for about 3 months, and then see where you're at, okay? Odds are, if you're playing every day and you do that consistently for several months, you're going to be in a spot where you can actually play your guitar and play along with some songs, and you can see some real progress, okay? And that's going to mean, oh, maybe I can do this, okay? Now, I don't know what your goal is. Maybe you want to be the next guitar virtuoso, the greatest guitar player in the world. Cool. You got to start somewhere. Maybe you just want to learn how to play and have fun with it. Maybe play along with some of your favorite songs and play with your friends, or maybe play in a band, or just play in the backyard with your family. All of those things are possible, but you have to get started somewhere, okay? And most guitar players kind of start somewhere in the same manner. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to learn a couple of chords today to get started. We're going to teach you some fundamentals about your guitar so that you understand how to hold your guitar and how to strum your guitar and so forth. All right, so first things first, how do we hold our guitar? Well, as you see, most guitars are cut out, have some sort of shape right here on the bottom, okay, that fits right on your leg, okay? Now, if you're left-handed, I'm right-handed, but if you're left-handed, all of these directions will be in reverse, okay? But it's still exactly the same idea. So I'm setting my guitar on my right leg, and that puts it in a real easy position. Now, sometimes some people will have a strap on their guitar, and they can let their guitar sit a little bit more balanced in the middle of their body like this, and that's fine, okay? Now, you don't want the head, this part, the head of the guitar, to be really down and far away from you, because then it's kind of hard to reach, and you're struggling, and you can't see what you're doing either, and that's a big problem, is people want to see where they're putting their fingers. So I like to start with sitting down in a comfortable chair. I'm not laying back with my feet up in the air. I'm sitting up tall, good posture, nice straight back. I'm sitting very comfortable and balanced, and my guitar is on my right leg, and that means that the neck is kind of closer to me. My hands are kind of closer to me, okay? And my right arm is in a good position for strumming, okay? And that's a good position to start it. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is a guitar pick here, okay? So you want to hold the guitar pick with the tip, the pointy part, pointed towards your strings. Some people hold a pick with 2 fingers, or thumb and 1 finger, or your forefinger. Some people will put the thumb and 2 fingers on the pick. Whatever is comfortable for you to get started is fine. People change as they go. You know, they start one way, and then as they play, they find some, you know, different things that become more comfortable for them. I typically have my thumb and my first finger on there, and then the rest of my fingers are just kind of lightly relaxed and curved, just like this, and the pick is pointing at the guitar. And then I'm not going to use anything with my left hand here. I'm just holding onto the neck to keep the guitar from falling, but I'm just going to show you how I strum. We don't want to hold the pick so tightly that when we hit the strings, that it's like we're ripping the strings off the guitar. What we want the strings, the pick to be soft enough or loose enough that it has some wiggle room in it, okay? And this way it can glide over the string. So I'm going to strum downward like this. And I'm plucking very softly. I'm not, if it sounds like this, okay, that's a bad thing. We're going to break some strings, and it's going to be very difficult to play like that. So just nice and soft. Just practice strumming. No hand over here. And I'm just practicing strumming down. That's all we need to do for now. Okay? Now, we don't want our arms swinging wildly to where we're scraping across the strings. My goal is for my pick to move, like it's going from my nose towards my toe. It's going to have a little bit of an arc. You can't help that, okay, because it's coming from your elbow here. But notice I'm also using my wrist, and I'm using my fingers to control the pick and keep it generally going straight down, perpendicular to the strings, okay? All right, great. Now we're going to bring the left hand and get involved. The first chord I'm going to teach you is the first chord I teach pretty much every guitar player or every student that I've ever taught, and I've been teaching for a really long time. And this is probably the first chord that I learned, although I don't really remember because I was 8 or 9 years old. My dad taught me, and I'm much older than that now, so I don't remember exactly which was the first chord, but this very well might have been the first chord he showed me because it's one of the easiest chords to play. Now, there are several different ways, and this will be the case with many chords. There are different ways to play a chord, different fingers that you can use. So I'm going to be showing you very common ways to play the chords, and I'm going to be showing you the way that I like to play the chords. Okay? If you go and look it up and you see, oh, well, I could use these 2 fingers instead of those 2 fingers, that's fine. There's more than one way to do it. This just happens to be the way that I do it, and the way that I do it is a very common way, the way a lot of people do it, and it proves to be very successful for many musicians. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. So first of all, I'm going to start with these 2 fingers, my 2 middle fingers. So if I have these 4 fingers here, I'm going to go finger 1, finger 2, finger 3, and then my pinky is finger 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. If people are familiar with playing piano, they count the thumb as number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But our thumb is mostly just going to be hanging out and resting and not doing a whole lot. And it's not really going to be playing any notes. So we're really only counting 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to put my number 2 finger, my middle finger, on the 2nd fret of the guitar. Now, what are frets? Let's think about that. That's these lines right here that you see. Okay? You see those lines? When you put a finger down on the string, it's pressing against that metal fret, making the string shorter. Okay, depending on where you put your finger, it changes the length of that string that you're playing, and that changes the pitch of the string. It changes the note, changes how it sounds. So I'm going to take my middle or 2nd finger, I'm going to go to the 2nd string from the top, which is the A string, and I'm going to put my finger on the 2nd fret. So 2nd finger, 2nd string, 2nd fret. And I'm going to keep my finger kind of close to the 2nd fret. I'm not going to be right on top of it because that won't sound good. I'm going to go right behind it there. I'm not going to squeeze as hard as I can. I'm just going to squeeze just enough to make the note work. So I'm just plucking the string and plucking with that where that finger is. Okay? That's the first note of the chord. Now I'm going to take my third finger, my ring finger. I'm going to put it right underneath of my middle finger. I'm going to put it in the second fret of the third string, which is the D string. So now I've got my middle finger is on the second fret of the A string. My third finger is on the second fret of the D string. And that's what that sounds like. So I'm going to go back and forth between those two notes. Okay, now that I see that those are working, okay, I'm going to strum all the strings nice and gentle like this. The name of this chord, by the way, is E minor. E minor. And I'm just strumming all 6 strings, a nice soft downward strum. Now, one way to check that all of your notes are ringing out correctly and that your fingers are doing what they're supposed to do is to pluck one string at a time. You start on the top string and pluck. Like that. And then you can check all your notes. If you hear something that sounds like this, hear that buzzy, not so good note. Okay, so I look at that string, that's the third string. Oh, that's where my ring finger is. Maybe I need to squeeze a little harder. There you go. Ooh, the next string sounds weird. That's not what I want. What's going on? Well, I can tell that the bottom of my ring finger is accidentally touching that open string that there should be no finger touching it. So I need to adjust my fingers. My fingers need to be curved enough so that they're only touching the string that I want them to touch, and that the rest of the strings that are open don't have any interference or anything touching them. So by going one string at a time, I can check every string and make sure that everything's working. And then we're just going to practice strumming that chord. Okay? Now here's what we're going to do. We're just going to count to 4 over and over again like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Excellent. Okay. Now we're going to move to the second chord, which is going to be A minor. The first chord was E minor. Now we're going to go to A minor. Now start on E minor. Remember, we had our fingers in the second fret of the of the A and the D string. I'm going to take both of those fingers and I'm going to move them down one string. So now they are on the second fret of the D and the G string, which are the 2 middle strings of the guitar. Okay? So now that those are there, I'm going to take my pointer, my first finger, and it's going to fit on the first fret of the next string, which is the second string from the bottom. That's the B string. We're putting our first finger on the first fret of the B string. Okay, now in this chord, we're going to try not to strum the top string. If you do strum it, that's okay. You're probably going to hit it a lot at first, but you can try not to. Okay, so remember what I said, we're going to strum. I like plucking each string one time by itself to see if all the notes are working. So here I'm going to try the A minor. There we go. Now if I hear it sound like this, that's not what we want. So I'm going to see, sometimes you have to really bring your attention to one string. You might be hitting that bottom string by accident, so adjust those fingers to where they're arching over the open strings. Sometimes people ask me, well, what about my thumb? Where should my thumb be? Should it be way back here on the back of the neck? Should it be on the top? Should it be pointed straight out like this? I think that your thumb, when we're playing basic chords like this, should be living right here, just kind of hanging out at the top, just right there. See that? Okay? And what that helps do is it gives your hand a nice shape, but it also, the very bottom of my thumb is just barely touching the top E string, which mutes it. So when I'm playing this chord, remember I said on the A minor, we don't want to pluck or ring that top string because it just doesn't sound as good in that chord. With my thumb there, it's muting that string. So even if my pick accidentally hits that string, you won't hear the note. Okay? So that's your A minor. So now we're going to go back and forth between these two chords. Here's E minor, back second fret of the A and the D string. Okay, and here's the next step. We just want to practice trying to get back and forth between these two chords. So at first we're just going to play one chord, and then we're going to move the string fingers down, put our first finger back on the first fret of the second string, play A minor. Then go back to the up one string. Remember to take your first finger off, E minor. Then go back to A minor. And this is really what you want to do. Like, spend a lot of time doing just this, making them sound really good. Now, you may find that your fingers start to hurt. The tips of your fingers might hurt. In fact, when you take your fingers off the strings, you'll see an indentation in your skin from the strings. Don't panic. That's supposed to happen. When you play a lot, when you play every day, this is another reason why it's important to play every day, you're going to build up calluses on the tips of your fingers. Calluses are like pads that protect the tip of your finger. Okay? The skin on your fingers on the tips actually gets a little bit thicker. Don't worry, it's not any big deal. It's not like it's going to be some big deal thing that you can really see. Okay? But it will protect your fingers, all right? It's your body's defense saying, ooh, we're really using the tips of those fingers a lot. Let's make some extra skin there to help protect us so it doesn't hurt, okay? So if you're practicing and after a little bit it begins to hurt, take a break, rub your fingers, get some blood going in there, okay? And maybe step away from the guitar for a little bit and take a break. And then come back and do it again, whether it's the same day or the next day. When I was a kid and I was learning to play, when I really badly wanted to play, what would happen was I would start playing and then my fingers would start to hurt. And I remember going to my father, who was the one that showed me how to play guitar. I said, Dad, my fingers are killing me. He said, well, yeah, you got to take a break. You haven't really built up your calluses yet. So when he said take a break, I thought, okay. So I would go do something for 5 minutes and then come back and try to play. And I might make it another 30 seconds and it hurts. And it really hurt a lot, honestly. It was pretty painful. I think I probably should have been taking more than a 5-minute break, actually step away for a considerable amount of time and then come back to it or come back to it the next day. And the thing is, over time, you're going to get to be able to play longer and longer and longer. You might only be able to play for a few minutes at first, and that's okay. But if you can play a few minutes in the morning and a few minutes in the afternoon and do that every day, after a few weeks, you're going to notice those calluses building up and that your endurance is going to be, you're going to be able to last longer. It's going to be, your fingers are going to get stronger. At first, playing those notes, it may be feeling like you're having to squeeze super duper hard, okay? Now, depending on whether you're a little kid or a teenager or an adult, you're used to doing things a certain way. If you're really young, if you're a kid, then you're still building up your strength in your hands and your fine motor skills. And if you're older, if you're an adult, then you've already kind of developed the ways that you do things. And this is something new. No matter how strong you are, no matter what other things you're capable of doing in life, playing the guitar is a new skill. It's something brand new. So that's where sometimes my adult students get more frustrated than my kid students, okay? Because adults think I can do anything I want. I can drive a car for, goodness sake. So why can't I do this? I mean, how hard can this be? And then they do it, and then it's hard, and they go, I can't do it, and they give up. We don't want to give up. You want to stick to this. Like I said at the beginning, you want to give yourself time and see it through. It's going to take time. It really is. But I mean, I can tell you, I see this every day. I've been teaching for years and years and years, and I've been playing my whole life. So if you stick to it and you work at it consistently, you will get better. But you have to put the time into it. It's not just going to happen just because you want it to in 1 or 2 days. That's just not how it works. It's going to take time. So let's just play our E minor to A minor, kind of like this, and just practice going back and forth. And you go at your own speed, however that is. If you can go fast, great, but there's no reason to go fast. Just take it nice and easy. This as much as you can and try to have fun with it. Okay, now eventually we're going to build up our repertoire or library of chords that we know down here at this part of the neck where we call like our first position, okay, where we have a bunch of different chords that we learn. Now, we only need 3 or 4 chords to be able to play tons and tons of songs, okay? And let me tell you, at first, it's going to go really slow. Your progress will be slow. When you learn your first couple of chords, it takes a lot of work, takes a lot of time. To learn 3 or 4 chords still takes a lot of time, but eventually things start to speed up. So that's another reason not to get discouraged if it's really slow going in the beginning. It will take you a long time to get your first handful of chords to feel really good and to where you can transition between them at a good pace, okay? But doing that work, future chords will come easier and transitioning will become easier, and you'll be able to play faster and keep up with different songs, okay? So you're not going to be slow forever. You're going to be slow at the beginning, and it's going to be a real gradual progress rate. So keep that in mind, all right? You got to have patience, and you got to be committed and stick to it, and you'll see the progress. So just work on these first 2 chords for a while, then check out my next video for your next set of chords for lesson 2, okay? And leave me some comments. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, hit me up, okay? And please hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. Bye.